This week on the podcast, we'll talk about what we're playing and recap some of the latest gaming news. Oh, and that's about it. Yeah, no Matt this week, so I'm flying solo. Will anyone actually watch this episode? Let's find out. Cue the music. Greetings, fellow gamers, and welcome to episode 14 of the Silent Majority Gamers podcast. I'm LimeyGeek, and yes, I'm here all by myself this week. No Matt. He actually had some back problems and has been in a lot of pain, not really been able to move. So it's just me. While he lays in bed and does nothing, I'm here recording a podcast. So without my crazy little brother, this episode will probably be shorter and probably a whole lot less entertaining. But let's roll on with it anyway. Let's get started here. We're going to start with what I'm playing. And this week I'm still playing a whole lot of Call of Duty. I must admit, I'm just in love with Call of Duty World War II. It's got me hooked like no Call of Duty has in years. It's just been a ton of fun. It hasn't been all roses, though, I must admit. They had some server issues and some problems when the game was first released, and things have gotten a lot better, but the main problem I've been experiencing is getting disconnected at the end of matches when I'm in a party. And they have said this week they're supposed to release a patch which is supposed to address some of these issues and some other balancing stuff as well. So that's good to see them addressing this stuff. Hopefully it's going to get even better, because I'm loving the game, otherwise. They're also supposed to launch the, ranked play this week on Friday, I believe. December 1st, ranked play is supposed to launch, be the first season for that. And I'm kind of looking forward to giving that a try. I haven't played ranked play since I think it was Black Ops 2 when I last tried that. And I made it to the top division, in Black Ops 2. Now, I'm not sure I'll be able to do quite that well this time around. I mean, that was a few years ago. I was a bit younger. Reflexes were a little better. There's lots of people way better than me now, for sure. So, but I'm looking forward to giving ranked play a try. And, hopefully, if they've got these server and connection issues and stuff ironed out, it won't be a problem. And hopefully once they've released this patch, things will smooth out. So, in addition to Call of Duty, I've also been playing Wolfenstein: The New Order. I actually completed the game. I finished it. I had played it on one down from the regular difficulty in order to get through the game. Of course, I was playing The New Order in order to prepare myself for Wolfenstein 2, which has been getting just phenomenal reviews. But I did read that Wolfenstein 1, The New Order, sort of sets up the characters and the world for Wolfenstein 2. So if you've played the first one, the second one, it'll give you more context for it. And having played through the first one, I agree with that. So I finished the campaign. Great game. Just a phenomenal game. I mean, the game was sort of a surprise hit when it came out. And what was really unexpected was the quality of the writing and the story and the character development. They really successfully managed to mash together the over-the-top, almost comedic gunplay in that game with a story that had real meaning and emotional weight and great characters. So it was really great to play through the game. The ending was almost sort of a gut punch ending, and in fact, when I finished the game, I took a break. I was like, I'm not going to go right into Wolfenstein 2 right away. I sort of want to let this one sit and let it breathe for a little bit before I jump into the second one. The second one does start almost immediately after the first one, so I'm going to get in there and play it because the end of the first game is almost like a cliffhanger. Like, you want to know how they're going to resolve that, the ending and go into the second game. So I'm looking forward to starting on Wolfenstein 2 this week. I'm expecting it to be really great, but the first one certainly was really good and, like I say, better than expected. And then the other game I've been playing on and off this week is NBA 2K18. Been continuing my career there. And I know we've mentioned the game a few times before, but it just struck me this week and I wanted to mention how much of a love-hate relationship I have with that game. I mean, it has nailed the gameplay and the feel when you're playing an NBA game. And when you successfully run a play or you sink a 3-point shot, close to the end of the game to put your team up, or you manage to get a defensive stop. I mean, it just feels so satisfying and so good when everything's going well. The problem is it can be so frustrating when things aren't going well. I find with the game, I need to concentrate when I'm playing. The jump shot timing, in order to actually, get a decent chance of sinking your shot. The timing is, it's milliseconds that you have to get the timing right. And when your timing's on, it's great. But if your timing is off even a little bit, like if you're not concentrating well, if I'm tired when I'm playing, it's off a little bit, and then you're just bricking everything, and it just gets super frustrating. And of course that feeds on itself because you get frustrated and then you try and force the action and maybe try driving to the basket and you don't do that properly and your shot gets blocked, and that gets frustrating as well. So it's one of those games where I alternate between this real sense of joy and accomplishment and real satisfaction. And on the other hand, I get so frustrated, I want to throw my controller across the room. So, but having said that, I keep coming back to the game. It has me hooked. It is such a fun game to play. I was sort of thinking this week how it's interesting with sports games, especially, career mode type games. The game gets easier as you play. Most games get harder as you play. The game starts easy, and then as the game goes through, a typical action or shooter game, the later levels will be harder. You'll come up against harder, more difficult enemies. And so the difficulty ramps up. Whereas with a sports game, it almost seems to go the opposite, where it ramps down. You start with a character with very low stats, and you gradually progress and build up your stats and your abilities. And as you play the game, theoretically at least, you get better because you get more experienced with playing. And then, so as you go, but your opponents don't get harder. So the game gets easier. As your player gets better, the game gets easier. I guess you're able to theoretically beat tougher teams, more consistently or more easily as you go. But, as a general rule, the game actually gets easier the more you play. And I think that's what's kept me coming back to NBA, is even though it can be frustrating, as my player gets better, I'm able to sink more shots more regularly and do better and play better. And so that frustration happens less often. And so I will continue to play because I know if I just keep pushing through, eventually my player will get to a 90 or 95 overall rating, and things will be even easier. So despite the frustration, still playing that game, it's a lot of fun. For news this week, I try to bring the positive side of gaming. We try to highlight the positives here because there's a lot of negativity already in gaming. We don't need to add to it. But I found it really difficult this week to come up with a positive story or something positive to talk about. There is something I do want to mention. We kind of missed it last week, and it's not a great story at all, but it relates to one of the games that Matt and I mentioned on a previous podcast, Marvel Heroes Omega. It's a game that we have been playing quite a lot, really enjoyed. Haven't played it recently, but was planning to get back into it with some of the planned expansions that they were going to bring out. But unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, Disney, who owns the Marvel rights, they came out and said that they are ending their relationship with the developer of the Marvel Heroes games. That would be Gazillion Entertainment. They came out and said they're ending the relationship with Gazillion, and the Marvel Heroes games, both console and PC, would shut down at the end of the year. Now, they said they were going to remove all the real money purchases from the game in the meantime, and so essentially would make the entire game free to play for, a month or so, until the game shut down permanently at the end of the year. Obviously a sad story, but then this past week it got even worse, where Gazillion came out and said that they're actually shutting down the company immediately, and the games are going offline right away. So as of now, they're gone. The game is offline, can't play it anymore. This obviously was, very sad to hear. Personally, and on behalf of the gamers who are enjoying the game, it's really sad that this game is shut down, not able to play it anymore. It was a really good game. Both Matt and I had invested money in the game and purchased characters to play. And actually what's happened is there's a bunch of gamers who are really upset that this has happened, and especially those that have spent money or spent a lot of money, and they're demanding refunds. Now, unfortunately, in addition to the game shutting down, of course, the company has shut down, and they've let all the employees go. So everyone has lost their job at the studio. There was a report out this week that they actually laid off all their staff right before the US Thanksgiving holiday. And they laid them off immediately. There's no severance, no vacation payouts or anything. They're just gone and done, and the studio's completely shut down. So of course, this is extremely sad for the developers. I mean, you never want to see this happen. You don't want to see people losing their jobs. There were reports that maybe the studio, there'd been some mismanagement and stuff, and that had contributed to the issue. I mean, it was sort of surprising. Disney or Marvel just came out and said, we're ending the relationship kind of out of the blue. And then for the studio to shut down immediately afterwards. Obviously, there's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But regardless of whether it was a management issue or whatever, the actual devs that work on the game, they're the ones that end up suffering here, losing their jobs. So that's very sad. We do wish all those developers well and hope they can find other jobs. And that brings me in a roundabout way to the one positive aspect to this story. And this is something I've seen a number of times when there have been studio closures or layoffs announced. And that is just the way the gaming industry rallies around its own. After this news came out, I saw a number of posts on Twitter from various developers or studios saying, hey, if you were affected by this closure, here's a link to our careers page. Here's our open positions, see if there's something there. We're always looking to hire good people. So it was really cool to see the way that other studios and devs really care about others in the industry and are wanting to help people move on and find a new job. Nobody wants to see people lose their jobs, even if you're technically competing with another studio or another publisher. There really is a community sense there between the developers in the gaming industry, and that was a really nice thing to see. It was really cool. So that was sort of one positive spin on an otherwise not great story. And that's pretty much it that I have for this week. One thing I did want to mention is going forward, in addition to these podcasts, I want to do some Let's Play videos. Now, I've got some different options for what I can do, and so I want to get your feedback, hear what you guys would like to see. So I've got 3 options, 3 ideas for Let's Plays that I can do, either one video or I can make it into a series. The first option is Assassin's Creed Origins. I haven't actually started the game yet. I know Matt's been playing it through. He's almost done. That's one I want to sink my teeth into and take my time with. It's going to take a while. So I could do an Assassin's Creed Origins Let's Play, starting right from the beginning of the game. Option number 2 is to do some classic retro gaming on either the Super Nintendo Classic or the NES Classic. There's about probably half the games on those 2 consoles I've never actually played. So it might be interesting for me to try playing some retro games that I've never played before. Old games, they're hard. They're not easy. So if you want to see me try and fail at a bunch of stuff, that might be another option, is to do some retro gaming. And then the third option I thought might be fun is actually Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, this is a classic BioWare RPG game set in the Star Wars universe, obviously, and, just considered one of the classic games. I never played it. I never actually played it. And through backwards compatibility, you can now play it on Xbox One. So I thought that might be a good option as well for me to play through Knights of the Old Republic. So I got those 3 options: Assassin's Creed, retro gaming, or Knights of the Old Republic. Let me know which of those you'd like to see me do. You can leave a comment on this video, and we'll see what the responses are and go from there. I was also thinking I could either do a recorded and edited video series like we do the podcasts, or I could even do live stream sessions as well if you guys would rather do that. So let me know that too. Let me know which of the options you'd like to see and whether you'd want to see that as a live stream or just as a regular pre-recorded and edited video. And with that, this shortened episode, this shortened podcast is just about done. That's all I've got for this week. Again, sorry Matt couldn't make it this week. It's just me. Hopefully he'll be okay to go next week. It sounds like he's getting a lot better, and I'm pretty sure we'll see him back again next week, which will be good. In the meantime, of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, we welcome your feedback. please leave a comment on this video, or you can tweet at us and let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Send us your questions or your feedback. We want to hear from our audience. You can follow us on Twitter for updates, or our Facebook page. I know a lot of people get these videos through Facebook, and I'll put the links to those in the video description. And that will just about do it. I am LimeyGeek. Matt will be back next week. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.